Hello. Welcome along to episode 209 of Adventures in Pop. My name is Simon Jacobs. I was a little unsure there of my numbers, but one number that I'm not unsure of is the number of 100,000, which is the number of subscribers that I might have sometime in the next few days. This is astronomical. I just want to humbly say thank you, thank you, thank you 100,000 times. I would say it to each one of you, but I don't know which ones of you I need to be saying it to. And also, it's quite boring to watch, isn't it? So I'm going to skip through that if you don't mind, but thank you. Instead, I want to talk about the brand new Goldhawk Foxes single, which is called The Bad One, and it's out tomorrow. There's just a simple lyric video that I want to bring to your attention, but mostly I just want, it's like an excuse to play you the song and maybe tell you a little bit about The Bad One. So look, it's a Goldhawk Foxes track. This is the fifth track from Goldhawk Foxes' second album. And I think it's fair to say we've got a bunch of songs written and mostly ready, being lined up to follow up and make up the remainder of this second album. So I guess number 2 Goldhawk Foxes album will be ready for release as an album in late summer, something like that, unless something untoward happens. So I should imagine there will be that difficult, as I mentioned before, the difficult second album, which isn't that difficult, coming out later on this year. And I'm interested in that. I'm excited about it because I think the selection of songs that we've got put together for this second album is really interesting. I'm not really sure whether it's better or worse than the first album. I don't think I can tell you that yet. I might, come back to me in a few years. I might be able to give you a decisive answer. In a way, I don't think that's important. I think what is important is that kind of feeling that we get from trying something a bit different, branching out a little bit, keeping the tone of these songs a bit varied, so they're not all just coming off like a cookie cutter formula where they're all just a kind of a version of itself, if you see what I mean. So it's good that they are, I think, quite interesting and individualistic. And as usual, when you're kind of filling in these forms or pitching it, particularly for Spotify editorial, you always ask this question about, what genre, what's it like, who's it like. I have terrible trouble with this because I always think the sound of what we're doing is really individual. It is really unique, and I don't know what is like it. And of course, it has a bit of a pop R&B vibe. They always do. But take this one that we're now releasing. This is The Bad One. And it's very poppy, and yes, maybe it's got a slight R&B vibe, but I would say this is more straight down the middle pop. And actually, one of the things I want to just bring to your attention, maybe the only thing to bring your attention about the track itself, is a really nice guitar sample that I found. Now look, samples. I think some people just sort of think, oh, samples, that's a lazy person's, way of adding some things. And I guess it would also be true to say that now in the world of AI, maybe samples will just go by the wayside. You won't need samples, will we? Because we'll just go to our AI computer and say, can you do me one of those, please, and pop it on. And off it'll go and do it. I think samples are often really kind of misrepresented. And I am a big fan of samples. And I have talked a lot about samples before, and I use them a lot. And I use them not just to find a really great sound and pop it onto a track and think, oh, that sounds really professional. But I use them for inspiration as well, because they can just trigger things. They can trigger you thinking up a melody, thinking up a mood. They're really useful to, have as a source, as another way of just, getting ideas and adding different textures to your sound. So on this track called The Bad One, written by CJ and myself, sung by CJ, and the score with Goldhawk Foxes. It's the two of us, and more and more we're kind of sharing everything. there is this one really nice guitar sample, and it's one of those things where I can remember looking for it for a long, long, long time, thinking that there must be something that just go on here that just lifts it a little bit. Finding the sample and feeling completely ridiculously jubilant. And even now, every time I hear the track, when it gets to that sample, which comes along about halfway through the first verse, comes back in the, halfway through the first chorus and comes back in the second chorus, it gives me a little sense of, well, excitement. I love it. Let me play it for you, just the sample. Here we go. So here is the sample in question, this lovely guitar sample. Here we go. Halfway through the first chorus, I'll bring everything in. Probably you're going to need to hear that again in the context of the whole final thing, but there it is. And it's not necessarily an easy thing to do. The thing about samples is you're looking in a pool where there are 50 million of them. So what is it that says that that's the one that works, and that one, these 500 and something thousand are not going to work? There's a lot of judgment that has to go into picking the one that is going to do something for your track. And I think because there's so much there's so much resource, and there are so many you could use, I think you could easily just ruin your song by sticking into it inappropriate bits of melody and sound and texture and the wrong instruments and all the rest of it. So I think there is an art to sampling, which is you've got to find the right thing that's doing the right kind of stuff that actually, moves it forward and doesn't take you off in the wrong direction or distract you, or you get so in love with your sample that you keep repeating it over and over and over and everyone hates it apart from you. And all those things, there are downsides for using something like that. And the other thing that I guess I should say is, with a sample like this, I am trying to get better at playing the guitar. I have a lovely new acoustic guitar. As some of you will know, I've got an electric guitar as well, I've had for a few years. I'm not very good at playing either of them, so I can't play what this musician playing that sample is playing. I can't reproduce that in any way, shape or form. That's completely beyond me at the moment. Maybe one day, that's great, but I've got to be honest with you, I can't do that. So why not, go and find something that is, there's nothing wrong with finding something that is out of your reach, if you see what I mean. I can't just reproduce that organically myself. If I could, great. I could get rid of half the samples and just play myself and reward myself for being a fabulous guitar player. I'm not at that stage, and maybe I never will be. So, we've got to be honest about these things. Okay. I guess, right, one last thing to say is, this is, as I mentioned, this is the fifth song from the Goldhawk Foxes second album. It's out on Friday. It's ever so good. Play it to everyone and learn it, obviously, off by heart, etc. I am giving you the lyrics after all. And as I say, there are a bunch of other songs that CJ and I are now kind of working through and working out what's going to be on this album, what's going to not, we're at that kind of stage of being, of editorial, of what's good enough and what's not good enough, essentially. And it's very interesting because we often get into, I'd say probably a slight disagreement where, we'll say, yeah, what about this track? And we both agree that it's really good. And then CJ will say, well, I'll just sing it again. And I go, no, you won't. He says, can I just sing it again? I go, no. And I get quite foldy army. What's that about? What is that about? It's because I think one of the things that happens is that as I'm working on a track, when CJ's not here, he's come in, he's sung his bit, gone back home, and I'm working on the track and getting it to sound good, trying to mix it, making sure the vocals sound, really tip-top and professional, which with CJ singing on the whole is not that difficult because the standard is good. I'm quite often sort of falling in love with the way that it's been sung. I've chosen this version over this one and this one and this one that got sung at the same time. I've made some decisions about how that's going to fit in, and I really like the way it does X, Y, and Z. I've got it sounding really good. And I'm probably thinking what a lovely vocal that is generally, because that does happen. And then very suddenly and unexpectedly, and as you can sense, shockingly, CJ will say, well, why don't I just sing it again? And I'm thinking, no, how can you? And what's really going on there is apart from the fact, obviously, I'm thinking, oh, I've got to go and do all that all over again, is I've committed to something that he did sometime earlier, and now I've got to uncommit to it again and commit to something else. That's quite tricky. It's a bit difficult. So I mean, my challenge to CJ when he says that is, okay, look, let's do it. Let's give it a go. But I'm gonna test it against the one that I've been working with, and the pair of us have got to be really convinced that the new one, the new version, the new vocal you've just done is better than the old version. And one of the things that I think CJ does, and I don't think he's alone in this, so I'm not picking on him, I promise you, is kind of to not see the value of the last one, always thinking I can do it better. And now it's a really worthwhile ambition. I can always do it better. Let me do it better. There's nothing wrong with that, except sometimes I'm thinking you're turning your back on the fact that actually that one was really good. And at what point are you satisfied that you've done the thing as best you can? Because I don't think you ever get to the end of I can do it better. It's one of those things where if you're striving for perfection, you're never going to get to perfection. So, you'd never commit to anything because you can always do it better. So I'm kind of firmly on the other side of that argument, saying, okay, we can all do everything better, but actually that's damn good. Do you see where I'm coming from here? This is another one of these kind of arguments against perfectionism. Perfectionism being the sort of disaster zone of creativity. Don't ever go there. I'm going to shut up now, and thank you very much for your time watching. There's been quite a lot of activity this week because I just put out an earlier adventure only a couple of days ago, talking about Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl. If you haven't seen that, do go back and watch that. It was very exciting. I'm just going to leave you now with the Goldhawk Foxes' brand new single, the fifth one from the second album, and it's called The Bad One. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
When you saying I would crumble, when you saying I would fall, did you hope that I would stumble? You thought you could make me humble, you thought you could make me small. I guess your plan took a tumble. I am no longer resentful, cause I ain't got time for that. I don't wanna be judgmental. My peace of mind is fundamental.